Right, in this video, we're going to discuss regulated monopolies. So we'll come from discussing why we regulate and all the different prices and the dilemma that comes up from regulating or not regulating and so forth. All right, so we'll use this diagram here where we look at the rate of regulation of a natural monopoly. So the reason why there's regulation is because an unregulated natural monopolist will choose QM. So in our diagram here, QM would be this quantity over here. That's QM. That's what they'll choose. And this is where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost and the price is equal to PM. All right. So this leaves us with, and from the last video, you'll know that this leaves us with allocative efficiency because the price is greater than the marginal cost and the quantity is less than the quantity that would have been produced by a perfectly competitive firm. So there's a deadweight loss that arises, and usually it was that triangle ABC that we saw in the last video. So now there is what we call a socially optimal price, and the socially optimal price you find it at point R. So this is where marginal cost is equal to demand, or marginal cost is equal to price. So at point R, the quantity will be QR, and that will be a really large quantity, or at least the highest quantity that's produced, and then the price will be quite low at PR, and that's a again it's a low price. There's no deadweight loss because price is equal to marginal cost. So there we have full efficiency, right? So we are able to achieve full consumer surplus, full producer surplus, no deadweight loss. But the problem is the PR lies below the average total cost. So you can see my average total cost is there, the purple line, and the PR is lying below the average total cost. So because of that, it means that the firm will make an economic loss. Okay, and obviously if you're making an economic loss, you'll know this from the earliest chapters of economics, is that when you make continuing losses, you exit the industry. So if the monopoly exits the industry, that's not a really good thing, right? So then we also talk of a different point. So let's try find a different point for the monopolist to produce. So maybe they could produce QF and at a price of PF, and this will be at point F, and that's where average total cost is equal to the demand. All right, so there they're going to make a normal profit. So they will make it's what we call a normal accounting profit. So there'll be financial viability. So it's possible, it makes sense that the business can operate, but they are making a zero economic profit. And the trade-off here is that the output is actually slightly lower than what we get at point R or QR, and the price is slightly higher than what we'd get at point R or PR. So in this case, there is an inefficiency. There will be a deadweight loss. The triangle. There will be less consumer and producer surplus, but the point is the business is financially viable, so it is possible for the business to actually run because it still is viable. So it's almost like a trade-off that you have to make, right? You have to choose financial viability and you have a bit of inefficiency in the system. All right, so we can also then go on to talk about the dilemma that arises, right? That if you choose option A where price is equal to marginal cost, you will maximize efficiency, but the survival of the monopoly will be impossible because the firm is making an economic loss. And then at point B, where price is equal to ATC, this ensures that there's a break-even loss with regards to economic, or a break-even point, with break-even with regards to economic profit, and there will be accounting profit, right? Uh, but you find that you have to have a small little deadweight loss in order for that to happen. So regulators need to actually balance the welfare gains, and by welfare gains we mean the size of the consumer surplus, right? We have to actually have like a trade-off between the size of the consumer surplus and the risk to jeopardizing the business, or the risk to ending up with a monopoly that is in a loss. So that's the idea behind behind our different our regulated monopolies, and just some terms for you. So the first point that we're going to talk about, point R, is what we call the socially optimal point. And then point F is the fair return point. So this also means that the price PR is going to be the socially optimal price, PF is going to be the fair return price, and then QF is going to be the fair return price quantity, whereas QR is going to be the social optimal quantity. And when we say socially optimal, think of it this way: at QR, many people are receiving this good, many people afford this good, many people are willing to pay for this good, and the price is very low at PR as well. Okay, so that's what we mean socially optimal. And then fair return just means the prices that we're getting when we're breaking even, which is the price of QF and the quantity of price of PF and the quantity of QF. All right, so that's it with regulated monopolies, and that actually leads to the end of the chapter. And now we can conclude the chapter, and key takeaways that pure monopoly, the characteristics are a single seller, unique product, price maker, high barriers of entry. Monopoly demand, we know, is downward sloping, and the marginal revenue is always going to be less than the price, except for the first unit sold. Price discrimination, there's first degree, second degree, third degree. You can think of the airplane example, where in an airplane, people get charged different prices, and it sort of is based off your willingness to pay. And then we talk of economic effects, and what we want to remember with economic effects is price, output, efficiency. So what are the effects of on price, output, and efficiency when you have a monopoly versus when you have a purely competitive firm? And then we talk about regulated monopolies. What happens when price is equal to marginal cost? What happens when price is equal to ATC? And how does that compare to where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue at the price of that, or the quantity we have to produce of that? And we learned a few points. We have the fair return price. We have the socially optimal price, and we want to compare those prices to the monopolist price. We also want to compare the quantities to the monopolist quantities. We also want to compare the efficiencies as well of those different points. And then we talked about the regulatory dilemma, where we said you have to balance efficiency with firm survival. So sometimes you have to have some inefficiency in order for the firm to survive. So that's it for this chapter. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope it helps. If you have any questions, you could either check out my website for more details, like the slides, the information, the notes, and for other videos. And you can also send me an email if you would like to ask any questions to clarify. All right, thank you. Cheers. Have a good one.